as we all know, it is Pride Month. It came to my attention this week through various different conversations. One specific conversation with my husband, that a lot of people don't know what certain terminology means within how we as, cisgender heterosexual individuals show up for the LGBTQ community. Basically, he was asking me, what is an ally? Like, what does the term itself actually entail? What do you have to do to be an ally? So with his question, I was like, well, it's probably other terms people don't know. So I want to go over some words with y'all because y'all know I am big on words and their meanings. So let's get into it. First up, we hear the term ally thrown around for many things, not even just LGBTQ community, but also for the Black community. Like, I am an ally. I'm going to tell y'all what ally actually entails and what it means. The term ally is defined as someone who advocates for groups or individuals who do not come from the place of privilege as the ally. Being an ally is considered one of the first steps in race and social justice work. Basically, I am a cisgender heterosexual woman. That puts me in a place of privilege in comparison to a transgender woman or a transgender man or a queer woman or a non-binary person. They are on their, how they identify is in a marginalized group, because in this country, cisgender, heterosexual, and male is dominant. It is the privileged classes. So if I am an ally, I am going to advocate for the groups and individuals who fall in all of those other groups. Okay? They don't come from the same place of privilege as me. Next, we often hear affirming, like I am LGBTQ affirming. And affirming is quite simple. So the definition of affirming is offering someone emotional support or encouragement. However, it does go a little further, because when affirming something, you are offering that support and or asserting something as fact. And this is usually a positive connotation. To affirm something, though, requires action, as it is a verb. So this is more than just, I accept LGBTQ people. This is more than that. This is not only do I accept them, but my actions show that. Next, inclusive. So we often hear this space is LGBTQ inclusive. So basic definition of inclusive is something that doesn't leave any person, part, or group out. So an example of this in regards to the LGBTQ community would be, yes, we'll work with you, we accept you, and you can come and do business with us as you are, as your full self. So when considering inclusivity and affirming is a much bigger core belief in the LGBTQ community. It is basically saying, we see you, we embrace you, we accept you, we affirm you. Now, side note, validation is different. So validation is not the same as affirmation, and these two terms get conflated quite a bit. But validation does not mean that one person agrees with the other, and that is the key difference. You can validate someone, meaning you acknowledge and accept them, their feelings, their thoughts, their beliefs, but you do not agree with them. So this is where the agree to disagree kind of comes in. Like, I validate your experience, but I don't agree with it. This is problematic because you are saying, I don't agree with who you are at your core. And that is not something to disagree or agree with per se. Does that make sense? Y'all let me know if that makes sense. Validation involves expressing understanding, legitimacy, and acceptance of another's experience. It does not attempt to alter a person's experience, but rather to accept it. Now, lowest on the rung of words when it comes to validation, affirmation, all that is tolerance. Tolerance is defined as the willingness to tolerate something, in particular, the existence of opinions or behaviors that one does not necessarily agree with. And it is often described as an ability to endure something painful or unenjoyable. So tolerance can really be problematic when we are dealing with human interaction and just accepting and embracing people. Tolerance means that you are enduring a person that you dislike or that you find unpleasant. with forbearance. Last term that I want to tell y'all the definition of is advocate. So in the field I work in my personal opinion, now you might read different things depending on what schools you go to, what post-secondary education that you get, and just your overall general opinions and belief. But in my opinion, in the field I work in, we are required to be advocates. I cannot work with people in the space of their mental health and then not advocate for them if harm is being done to them. Does that make sense? Advocate or an advocate is a person who publicly supports or recommends a particular cause or policy. So I can sit up here all day long and work with LGBTQ clients or whoever, whatever clients. I can work with them. I can help them. But at the end of the day, am I really affirming them and validating them if they are struggling with something that I can publicly speak up about and then I choose not to do that? So see that publicly speaking up part, and that don't mean getting on social media or getting on TV. Like, it doesn't have to be loud into the masses, but it means when someone says something in a space that I'm in that is not okay, I need to publicly say something about that. That's being an advocate. So basically, you can be several of these things, but there's some you can't be without the other. You cannot call yourself an ally if you do not advocate. So you can't be an ally and not be an advocate, and vice versa. If you are an advocate, that makes you an ally. But you can absolutely be validating and not be affirming. You can be validating and not be inclusive. You can be affirming and not be inclusive. So see, some of them you can be and not be anything else. And if you are just tolerant, trust me, you are probably none of these things. If you're just a person who tolerates other people who you don't agree with, because that's what tolerates means. You tolerate it, but you don't agree with it. Then I best believe you are nobody's advocate, ally, or otherwise. So that I say that to say, and I know people might be mad, but if your beliefs only allow you to tolerate, you are going to struggle with being any of these other things. You probably won't struggle with the validation part, but you might struggle with being affirming, being inclusive, and you will definitely struggle with being an advocate or an ally. That's all I got for y'all. I'm going to wrap this up, and I just wanted y'all to know those words and understand what they mean. So for me, I am a full ally and advocate. I'm all about inclusivity. I am going to forever be affirming. It will always go beyond just tolerating, because you see, tolerating, that's a problem.